All right, next we've got a question coming from Ron. Here we go.
Hi, Senator, Congresswoman, thanks for being with us today. Appreciate it. I'm Ron, retired from the Air Force after 30 years. Air Force. I can say who will. My question regards armed forces recruiting and retention. Services are having difficulty making goals just now. Went through the COVID era with a mandated vaccine. Right. I know DOD discharged thousands of troops for refusal to take that vaccine. And we have a lot of young people today who are just frankly unfit to begin military service. And I know you've got a Make America Healthy plan. Could you talk a little about that and how that can address some of these issues?
Yeah, well, Ron, I'm happy to take a first stab at that question. And then, Tulsi, I'd love to hear your thoughts, too, because, of course, I think Tulsi understands as well as anybody why the military might be having recruitment challenges in the 21st century. And I think there are a couple of things going on, Ron. Is number one, you hit the nail on the head. Why were we firing brave, young, and healthy Marines, soldiers, sailors, and airmen because they wouldn't take the COVID shot? We should let people make these decisions themselves, not throw them out of the military because of it. But of course, that's not just thousands of Americans who were thrown out of the military, and it was a disgrace, and Donald Trump and I have promised that we're going to offer all of those people a return to service with back pay on top of it. That's important. But Ron, think about the effect that has on morale. What does it do when you fire people for simply exercising their own judgment about what they want to put into their own body? What does that say to the next generation of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines? What does it say to their family members? Because we know, in my family, my grandma, my mamaw, had 6 grandchildren. 3 of us enlisted in the United States Marine Corps out of high school. Very often, military service is a family affair. So what we did, I think, was a massive slap in the face to our troops, but it also really, really hurt morale. And the final thing I'll say, and again, I want to hear Tulsi's views on this too, is people want to sign up for the United States military because they love their country and they want to engage in public service. They don't want to sign up in the military because of a bunch of progressive ideas. They don't want to be enforcers of one political party's dogma. They want to serve the whole United States of America. And I think unfortunately, whether it's DEI training or, you have our State Department funding progressive politics in foreign countries, like why do your tax dollars need to be funneled through the State Department to do like trans pride parades in the Czech Republic? Like, what does that have to do with the America's national interest? Even if you agree with that, and I imagine none of us do, but even if you agree with it, that has nothing to do with America's national interest. So why are our taxpayers funding that stuff? But when you do that, it makes people not want to serve their country because they're worried they're not serving the whole United States of America. They're serving Kamala Harris's radical agenda, and that's going to stop the minute Donald J. Trump becomes president.
JD, I want to go back to what you said in response to the first question that we had, with the fact that every single one of us who's here, anyone watching from home, any one of us who's raised our right hand and volunteered, the less than 1% of all Americans who volunteer to serve in our armed forces, we do so, and our families know that service and that volunteerism may require us to pay the ultimate price. And we do so willingly because of love for our country and our commitment to defending the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. What we don't sign up for is to be used as cannon fodder by politicians who are trying to fund the military-industrial complex or make themselves look tough. And so the very least that our men and women in uniform deserve, that our veterans deserve from our leadership, the president, our commander-in-chief, leaders in Congress, is to have our back.
Amen.
And so when
Absolutely
you talk
right.
about make America healthy again, too often, and we all got stories. We all got stories. But too often, they make investments, say, okay, you walk in basic training. I enlisted, went to basic training at Fort Jackson, and you go through that training. You serve in the Air Force. They invest in turning civilians into warriors. Then you go and spend your time in service, and when it's time to go and you get your final DD-214 and you walk out, for a lot of folks, they feel lost because for the first time, you kind of feel alone. That you can't just go to the military hospital, or you can't, you don't have your sergeant major telling you what time to wake up and when you get to eat and when you get to sleep. And so when we look at the Veterans Affairs Department, for example, when we have our brothers and sisters who are struggling, who've gone and fought in war zones and have come home and are struggling with those internal battles, too many of them are feeling like their only choice is to take their own lives to end their pain. That means our leaders have failed our brothers and sisters. Why is it? Even at that point, they are still not able to get the care that they need. I've had friends who've gone into the VA at that moment where they felt like they had no other option. They were ready to take their own lives. They either couldn't get an appointment, or when they did walk in, they were handed a bag full of drugs.
Yep.
A bag full of drugs that made their problems worse, not better, and that didn't actually deal with the real challenges they were facing. So when we talk about what is President Trump's plan to make America healthy again look like for our men and women in uniform and for our veterans, it's investing in the person, our fellow American, from the time they join the military, throughout their time in service, making sure that they're getting the care that they need, not just drugs or Band-Aids to cover up the visible or invisible wounds. Making sure that when you go into that dining facility, you actually have healthy and nutrition options to eat, not just crap that's going to make you sick. That when you go to the doctor, they're not just going to give you pills to cover up whatever pain you are experiencing. And that when it comes time to lay down the uniform, when your service is complete, that you're able to go, as with President Trump's accomplishment in passing the Choice Act, that you're able to go to the provider of your choice, whether that be at the VA or in your local doctor's office, and get the care that you need. And I just want to close by sharing a personal story because I experienced what a difference this made in my own personal life. I was a member of Congress representing Hawaii. It was the 2nd Congressional District, the rural parts of the state. And there was a Vietnam veteran named Andrew Jamila. He'd been awesome. He was a local leader. He was like the unofficial mayor of his hometown of Waimanalo on the island of Oahu. He called me up one day. Thank God he had my personal cell phone number. And he said, Tulsi, I just had a heart attack, and I'm at the hospital down the street. We live like 20 minutes from each other. I'm at the hospital down the street. They tell me if they can't have open heart surgery right now, then I may not survive. The VA hospital, which was about 40 minutes drive over the mountains to the other side of the island, said they would not cover this surgery that would save his life, that he had to get into an ambulance and take that 40-minute drive to get to the VA. His doctor said, you might not make it, Andrew. You might not survive. And so thankfully I was able to help him, and it was because of the Choice Act that he was able to get the care that he needed, that he survived that heart attack and was able to live another day.
It's awesome.